This week's episodes were brought to you by the generous support of Eric Sumner. We got grassland, flat grasslands, grassland hills. We got flat plains, plains, hills. Oh, mountains are not supposed to be thinged. Maybe I'll just change the order here. Do the moisture bit first. And then do this. That way the mountain will override itself and still be gray. There we are. Oh wait, these are deserts. Right, which makes sense because right now the moisture is going to range everywhere from +1 to -1 or something like that. So half the world is going to be desert right now because any negative value is being treated as a desert. We could tune that. And this is probably fine, actually. So we'll say, no. Plains actually start as low as -0.5 F. That's a plain. And then grassland is at 0 marker. And then forest can be at 0.5. And then jungles is super moist. I've got a shitload of desert. Really? Hold on. Seems like a lot, but... Do I have something not working the way I expect over here? Desert? Why so much desert? Is there really that much of an area that's like negative that much? I guess. Just offset this a little bit more so the things are spread out a little bit more differently. It's a very dry continent. They're all dry. Oh, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I'm used to saying, I'm used to having these not be serialized, but yeah, the values aren't being changed over here. Thank you. So the plains have to go down to -0.5 over here and a 0 there. And the forest maybe 0.5. Stupid inspector crap. That takes forever for me to always catch that. All right, I like this. Let me go and tune this value again. Let me go and put it down there. I think this will let us be a little more chunkier and less giant swaths of the same thing. There we are. I mean, we do have forest right next to desert over here, but it's not like our biome simulator is that, you know, that good, that accurate. It's not. There should be a fair amount of smooth gradation from one to the other. And there are. So there's clumps of desert and clumps of trees over here. All right, these are grasslands. Some of these might be forests and rainforests, but we don't actually spawn the forest and rainforest objects yet. I guess we could probably go ahead and do something like that now. Sure, what the heck? Let's make a quick little tree in Blender. This is gonna look not good. Let me leave the hill there for a second. Yeah, let me close you. Yeah, don't save. I'm going to duplicate the hill and just call this forest. Just because I want the hex there as a reference. Then we'll delete it afterwards. It was the Mad Max seed. You shouldn't have changed it. Oh, yeah, you want it. That's funny. What do I want here? I want a cylinder with 12 sides. And I want you to be centered. Thank you. I want to That's a big fucking trunk. Still, won't be visible. I don't know. Scale, not in a Z. Scritch it down. And forest. We are going to say smooth shade and then edge split. And I mean, it should be, you know, UV mapped and whatever, but we're just going to color it green and not going to care. So then I can get rid of the hill like that and save. And I'll just name this object just because it makes life a little simpler. My graphics of awesome. So you public object dot instantiate forest prefab at Hex game object. I don't think we need to do this, but at Hex game object dot transform dot position and quaternion dot identity. Bum, 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 bum. So it's going to be a child of the hex. Oh, it wants to transform. Dot transform. Dot transform. Go airs. Go airs. Excellent. Then we need to make sure to create a forest prefab. Set it 0, 0, 0. And drop the forest graphics inside of there. And dark green, non-shiny. Forest material on there. Excellent. Take this prefab, drop it in the prefabs folder. You may be wondering what this dwarf is. This is the unit we're going to use to move around if we get that far in this particular live stream, which I'm not sure that we will. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. That's good. So we can trash you. And then here we're just going to take the forest prefab, drop it in the forest and the jungle slot. Hit play. Hey! We got trees! We got trees, you guys! I know the trunks are green. It's called a lazy mode. We got trees! Oh, look how cute our world looks. Aw, I love it. We need more trees, though. Forest. 25%. Jungle. At the half. Let's call it, you know what? At the third and the third. We have trees of green. Red roses, too. What I should do is, in our hex prefab, is I'm just going to go and disable the text mesh. There we are. It's still there, it still gets set and everything like that, but it's just hidden. Aww, our world looks adorable! Aww. So yeah, so there's no blending as is, but that's because we don't have texture maps right now. We're not using actual textures, which is partially what you need. Although you could still do something if you used vertex coloring and things, but that'll be a problem for another day. Okay, this definitely looks like an adorable little low poly world. Oh, we are not supposed to get trees where we have mountains. The other thing I can do is change the height. Right, I could lower the forest height when there's not a hill. That's not a bad idea. Mountain trees, literally unplayable. Will there be Oasis tiles? I don't think in this particular one, but there could be. Graphics are looking rather cartoony and actually better than Civ 6 in some ways. Well, I mean, the one thing you can say about these graphics is they're clear, right? That was one of the things that Beyond Earth got wrong. In trying to set a certain mood for their world, they had graphics that were not clear. It was hard to differentiate different tile types. In the vanilla version of Beyond Earth, it was hard to see miasma, which was pretty bad. That did get fixed with some of the later patches. The miasma started standing out more. But even like some of the units, it was hard to sometimes see them or differentiate them. It's really important to have clear and easily differentiable graphics, especially in strategy games, because it's all about being able to see the pieces. It's one of the complaints that does get leveled at Civ 6 still, is that hills are kind of hard to see at times. It doesn't pop out in ways that maybe it should. But yeah, I actually like the way Civ 6 looks a lot. But I would like the hills to pop a little bit more. So when I get mountain trees, if we want to do the height tuning, yeah, there's all kinds of different ways we can do it. We could do, I mean, even as much as like do a raycast or something like that. But I think I would just probably offset the Y here. So something like if h.elevation is greater than hill, greater than or equal to height hill, then we just take the p.y and add 0.1. And then we make sure that our actual forest prefab is going down the right way, right? So bring it a little lower, but then add a little bit more over here. There we go. There. Looks pretty good. Do we get shadows? Okay, we got shadows there. I wonder if we'd want to, like, angle it down a little lower or not. I'd say, like, the low light like this looks pretty badass, like the sort of sunset kind of thing. It's high noon. I guess one of the things we have to figure out is our camera position. And actually, we might want to go and put in the camera code now. Because I keep looking around in the edit mode. But it might be much better if we were going around here. So first of all, obviously the camera should be tilted something. I don't know how much. Because, I mean, we think of Civ as a top-down game, but it's not really in the main view mode. Something like this. I mean, it's not 45 degrees, is it? No, that's too much. Maybe like 60? Looks kind of viable. It's definitely a 45. 45 was... You're seeing way too much in the distance. Although, I mean, if we brought the camera down... I'm thinking 60. 2/3, huh? I think 2/3 is kind of the way that it is. And I think this represents one of the furthest zoom levels you can get in like a Civ 5 or Civ 6. So let me lock that in here. Something like that. And we'll push you out so that you actually spawn a little further over the map. There we go. So let's get some mouse dragging in here. Right. Camera, mouse, controls, controller. Well, okay, hold on. I'm doing the thing that I say don't do. You want to have a single centralized mouse controller to feed farm jobs out to different things. Because your mouse in a strategy game does a lot of different things depending on context. So I'm going to remove you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an empty mouse controller just for reference. And you're going to be mouse controller. There you go. Because, yeah, modes, context. It has to figure out, are you over a UI element? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? It needs to know that kind of information. And then it will feed the information back to the camera or something. "60 degrees is hard to see hill versus grassland." What, are we running into the Civ problem? I was really hoping to end up with a slightly lumpier hill. We'll probably revisit that. More lumpiness, more interestingness. Because, yeah, it is mostly just a dome right now. I like how the mountains got kind of a point going on. So they stand out. But again, that's not really the main focus of this. To get the look of the terrain exactly right. Where's my thingy? There it is. Who dat? Hey, Tiburon! Thank you very much! Hey Quill, finally I'm able to catch a stream. Thanks you so much for all the great content and the awesome tutorials that have helped me a lot during my game dev career. Have some whiskey and chocolate on me. Well, thank you very much, Tiburon. But if it's all the same to you, I might just have the chocolate on a plate and the whiskey in a glass instead of on you. But you know, other than that, I mean, I'm right there. I like it. Thank you. Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. If then we take our light position and actually rotate it around the Y to get a slightly different shadow angle. There's a few different things we can do, and especially if it was lower, it would emphasize the hill shadows a little bit more. You know, now that might work. Let's go ahead and copy component, and then when we're outside here, we can go and paste component values. There we go. Because otherwise, when you make changes while it's running, it doesn't save. All right, yeah, that definitely makes the hills pop because they got the shadow on the top left now, and that makes them real good. Civ have time and day-based light. Civ's got the time. The lighting in Civ doesn't change. You can set it though, right? You can set where the light is in Civ. There might be a way to make it go automatically, but I think I have set it somewhere so that it doesn't annoy me. I don't remember. Make it more yellow, make it look like dusk. I don't know. Anyway, there's a way to make the hills that are next to each other. Yeah. Okay, so that's one of the other things I was going to talk about, right? Is the hills next to each other make them look linked up. This is very similar to what it's going to look like on the coast, like different things like that. There are many ways to do that sort of thing. They can be done procedurally in code, where you just detect to see if there's two of these next to each other, and then actually modify the instance of these meshes to stitch them together. We can look at that sort of thing in the future. Like, so there's a few different possibilities. One, you could have a whole bunch of different hill models for things that are supposed to be next to one another. Although you also probably don't want every single hill to look exactly the same as one another, so then it becomes really complicated. I think probably the best solution is have multiple hill models so they look different from one another, and then in code stitch up the terrain. So after you spawn everything with the elevation, do a pass where you look for relative things, stitch that together. That's also a good time that you're going to look at various ways to do texture blending effects and things like that, so that you don't get these sharp lines in between tiles, so that you get some of the material that spills over. There's all sorts of things you can do to get that to go. But yeah, because it'd be cool to have mountain ranges. It'd be cool to have like different texture along the coast. One of the things that's going to be particularly notable is when we do our water, we probably want the water to look, you know, actually deep. Well, yeah, so the water's going to need sort of like two layers. Probably what'll happen, actually, is the water will be one plane that cuts through the world just below, you know, like ground level. And then your actual water tile mesh will be inverted. So it'll be just like a hill that swoops down, and then adjacent water tiles will have to do the thing where they blend their models together so that it's all one big chunk. But yeah. Da, 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 da. We do coast versus ocean. So I mean, that's not hard to do. Again, as a pass, right? So the way you differentiate coast versus ocean, well, there's a couple of different ways. The first thing is go through, and any ocean tile that actually has a neighbor that's ground, make that ocean tile coast instead. That's one. But in fact, in most Civ games, you can end up with these sort of coast tiles, right, that go right through here. You get these shallow things, and that means just like the height, right? Right now we're saying anything that's below 0 or whatever is just ocean, but we could change it so that from 0 to negative 0.25, that's coast. So you get these shallow areas, so you can get your galleys to go across or something. It's trivial. We've got that already implemented. We would just have to, you know, make a different looking tile for these coast kind of things. I like the way this looks. Like, if this were my Let 'em Dare game at this point, I'd be like, guys, this is cool. I mean, we don't have a game. Nothing happens yet, but looks cool, right? All right. Let's finish the camera code. And we may have to wrap it up then, because my throat is just giving up the ghost here. And we've got a stream tomorrow for Civ 6. So we might be a little bit hitting some limitations of what I can physically handle. Okay, so mouse controller code. So right now, all we need are camera controls. So how do we want them to work on the mouse? Well, basically, if we click and we drag, we want the camera to move. Yeah. Normally I do Normally, an easy way to do this would be a raycast type thing. Like in 2D, it's easy. You can just look at the mouse coordinates and move it. But in 3D, I think for this, you want to do kind of a raycast to ground level. And then move that way. I think that'll feel the correct one. Yeah, and WASD. Yeah, that's true. which actually we could have some other override like thing in there. Like there might be a script on the camera for WASD response. That's pretty reasonable, actually. Camera, keyboard, controller. Although, again, there's something to be said about context, because what if you're trying to edit a city name, then you don't want the camera to move? We'll tell you, we'll deal with that one when we get there. That's going to be fine. So we want, by default in Unity, WASD as well as the arrow keys are bound to the vertical and horizontal axes, so we can just use that. So we can do something like vector 3, translate. I mean, I don't have to store it in a vector, but let's just do this for now. Then we can multiply it or do something, I don't know, is equal to new vector 3. So we want to move along the x-axis. It's going to be local x. In this case, it's also global x. And global z. So yeah, that's going to be fine. Input dot get axis named horizontal. Yeah, we'll just get it directly. We're not going to change along the y. And whoops, for the z, it's going to be input dot get axis vertical. And float, move speed. So it's almost certainly going to be too slow, so something like 5. So we can say something like this.transform.translate by translate multiplied by move speed. And we need to make sure it's world coordinates space in here. So first, if we do this. Woo! Okay. Oh. Times time to delta time. Let's not forget that part. All right, not fast enough. Quite a bit faster. Of course, you can change that in a slider, maybe in the options menu. That's okay. I mean, not particularly quick. I think I'd be happier with faster than this. That might be too much. Nope, that's good. Oh, and what's interesting, in Unity, the way it uses the axes, it actually has a little bit of gravity, so it takes a second to start up, and that also takes a second to, like, release. So you get, like, a kind of a smooth startup and slow down. You could tune that, if you're not happy with it, in Project Settings Input. So axes, horizontal and vertical. Right over here, you see how it's got the gravity over here? This is how long it takes for, when you let go, how long it takes for the value to reach 0 again. And the sensitivity is how long it takes for it to go from 0 to 1 once you hit the button. So if you want it to respond instantly, you set these to 1,000. Example, that would be probably jump. Yeah, you see it's got like 1,000. So that'll happen instantly, really crisp. But if you want it to be smoother and slower, bring those values down. Even like to a 1 would be quite slow and probably would feel too sluggish. Here, it feels like there's just a little bit of momentum. It feels like there's some weight as you move things around. It feels good, at least to me. I gotta say, I'm happy with the way the map looks. In terms of, like, yeah, a simple sort of, like, interface that's clear. It's not bad. Alright, so, the camera control. So, yeah, I think what I'll do is probably the raycast. Do you actually have to do that? No, I suppose you could math it. Ooh, math. Hey, I want to say a great big thank you to all the June Patreon supporters and these Mic Check supporters. We've got Yukofin, Eric Sumner, Tiburon, Mighty Mix, Pavel Zdanov, Drazion, Michael McClintock, Aaron Toyson, Craig Mortel, The Not So Evil Engineer, Julien Auger-Lafont, Marius Fieldvold, Speedy Savant, Valiant Cake Fiend, Thomas Oberson, Jason Yanity, Stephen Bonnerman, Kale the Quick, and Neil Blakey Milner, and absolutely everyone who watches, shares, favorites, and subscribes to these videos. Thank you so much.